Hi there, Tara. Andrew here yet again. So, having read through your essay already, I would say that currently you are performing at around a 6.5. So you asked me for your band score so that you can get a better idea of how to improve. Now, the reason that you're at a 6.5, one, the frequency with which you make grammatical errors means that your grammatical range and accuracy is likely to score a 6. Your lexical resource is also likely to score a 6. Actually, maybe a 7, maybe, but we need to introduce some more precise language into your lexicon. Your task response is likely to be a 7. We do need to tidy that up a bit, but overall, I would say currently your task response is around about a 7. Your coherence and cohesion as well is bordering on a 7, probably maybe a 7. The problem with coherence and cohesion is that if you always use these memorized phrases at the start of sentences to give them context, the examiners are looking for this. So what I'll start to show you how to do is just to not have these at all. If we can keep these to an absolute minimum, then this improves your coherence and cohesion, because you do appropriately use paragraphs. The paragraphs are a bit long, and so they get a bit confused. So we'll try to simplify your paragraphs. Reduce the use of these cohesive phrases, introduce some more precise language, and focus on reducing small errors in grammatical range and accuracy. If we focus on all of the areas, then the likelihood is when we go back into the exam, you'll be able to get that 7. But currently, the only area in which you're scoring a 7, I would say, is your task response. So let's have a look. So the issue of providing entertainment to students has been a debatable topic, grammar, among people around the world. If you're going to say has been, then you would have to really give a time frame. So we should just say is. The issue of providing entertainment to students in schools is a debatable topic among people around the world. It is often argued that schools should solely provide, let's say, an academic education, just so it's clear. This is from my perspective. While from my perspective, extracurricular activities should also be provided and here I would use as they have a great impact on students. But here we have a problem. In that this is not very specific. It's kind of just extra words. It doesn't say anything. What is the impact? Why is it great? What happens to the students as a result? You should still say it briefly in your introduction, but you should hint at what you're going to discuss down here. So let's say as they result in a more well-rounded educational experience. Be specific. Tell us what your ideas are. So I would just get rid of this. So entertaining programs such as music and sports have many advantages for students in the long term. We've already said this up here. Such non-academic pursuits may enhance the creative and again here, this is not specific, this is ambiguous. What are these other skills? So let's say creative, social, and Interpersonal. In pupils, which would be helpful, I would just say, in later life and the workplace. This here feels like extra, so it's not expanded. When in academic writing, whenever we make a point, we must expand it fully. So if you're not going to provide us with an explanation or an example to support this, then it should just stay away. For instance, recent research conducted by the British government, showed that by integrating different activities, here we can say besides study, by integrating other activities besides pure study or study. Okay, so British government showed that by integrating different activities besides study, students developed better critical thinking, teamwork, and social skills. But how is this measured? So again, and here we do not start sentences with conjunctions. And we could actually just say, while also developing, lifelong is just one word, while also developing lifelong relationships with their peers again, this is just this has not been expanded, this has just been included. While also developing lifelong relationships with their peers. Here, let's remove this and say it should therefore be acknowledged. It should therefore be acknowledged that providing extracurricular facilities in educational premises, excellent, can improve the progress of students in many ways. Let's say a multitude of ways. So we've gotten rid of a lot of extra information here. We've used some more advanced vocabulary. We've trimmed down these sorts of phrases to make sure that we avoid that penalization in coherence and cohesion. What this does is it creates a paragraph that provides its own context. Each sentence follows from the other and supports the previous one. It has a good flow. We don't need to constantly tell the examiner what to expect from the sentence by using furthermore, moreover, etc. Instead, we should try to create a paragraph that flows by itself. So let's move on to the next one. Secondly, wait. So we are, if the topic of your paragraph is that students are bored by traditional education, then we need to support that. So what we've done here is we've said students get bored and don't study effectively, but then we've given an example that supports the fact that students who have entertaining activities perform better, which is what this paragraph talks about. So if we wanted, I support this. I think that talking about the negatives of exclusively academic education is what you should have done. But what we needed then is an example that supports that. So we could have said something like, in countries in which education is purely academic, the average grade or the average pass rate for exams is X%. And when you compare this, or when this is compared to countries such as, let's say, Finland, to countries such as Finland, which involve more, blah, blah, blah. So essentially, we must stay consistent. Whatever the start of the paragraph says, we must continue from that, and not just here you've switched over to talking about this paragraph again. So my main criticism for this paragraph is that if you're going to, it should always conform to the topic sentence. So the topic sentence tells us what the paragraph is about. The next sentence expands that and drills down deeper into it, and then we support those two previous sentences with a real-world and relevant example, and then we explain how that relates back to the question. So here we've done that, but here we haven't, because we switched themes halfway through. So to recapitulate from the given examples and explanation, I firmly believe that the purpose of school should not be limited to formal academic education. Here, I would do that, because we're referring to the schools. The purpose of schools should not be limited to formal academic education, but should include other entertaining facilities. Actually, let's say because the purpose of schools, so to include the provision of. So to provide, to include the provision of, other entertaining facilities for the improvement of academic subjects as well as the personality of their students. So that's actually not a bad conclusion. So my main points for this essay: stay focused and don't include extra information. Try to stay away from repetitive, cohesive phrases. And in this paragraph, we need to make sure that it conforms all the way through. So we need to explore what happens in these schools in which children are bored and not engaged, instead of switching to the other side. But let's switch over to your task 1 and see how you did there. So here, the line chart illustrates, I would say, the total income of special trade zone members between 1990 and 2000, as measured or recorded by the IMF, World Bank. No conjunctions at the start. The pie chart shows the global market share of exports expressed. Actually, if we want, we can use and, but we're going to do it like this. And the pie chart shows the global market. Both sets, actually let's use a good word, both data sets are provided by the IMF World Bank. The line chart illustrates the total income of special trade zone members between 1990 and 2000, and the pie chart shows the global market share of exports in different regions in 2000. Both data sets are provided by the IMF World Bank. Now that's perfect. It is clear that the total member income, we can just say increased. The total member income increased over the 10-year period with small fluctuations. We don't need to capitalize, but also I would just use and here. And the global market share in Bensland and Jamesland were This is not correct. Were the highest of all regions in 1990. The total member income. Actually, we don't need this. And if you're going to use income after member, then it's members possessive. The total members' income, but I would always use the total income of the members, was just above $120,000 billion. From 1991 to 92, this figure rose by 15,000 billion US dollars and remained stable in the subsequent year. Remember, subsequent means next. So if we say next subsequent year, we're just repeating ourselves. Also, in terms of currency, we can use this. Because that just says 5,000 billion US dollars. It's much easier to write that than it is to... This is correct still, but it's easier to use the convention. By 1993, the total member income, the total income of members, let's say trade zone members, just was 135,000 billion US dollars, which increased constantly in the following years and reached its highest figure, which was about 175,000 billion US dollars in 1997. Or we could just put that there. After this year, the figure for total members' income remained stable, is fine for past tense. Remained stable, I would say, for 3 years. Because you've already said after this year, so we don't need to double up on that. And I think this is until the end of 2000. Yeah. The pie chart indicates that Bensland showed, I would say, had the largest proportion of the global market share of exports in 2000 at 90. Is it like that? I think you might have one too many numbers there. Followed by James Land and Andy Land, which had 89,522 and 75,341 respectively. Good. In Tim's Land, the global market share stood at 56,133. I think it might be again like that, which was the fourth largest market share in 2000. Whereas Fredland, Herbertland, and Darrenland, I know these are made up, so it doesn't really matter, but were in between a global market share. I would say had between. So don't worry too much about the grammar. What we should concentrate on is slimming down your writing in your task 2s. But in order to get a better idea of grammar, read an article every day from one of these websites. These guys report on academic journals. So while scientific journals will be far too advanced for you to read properly, these guys write articles for the public based on findings in scientific literature. So their standard of English is incredibly good. It's very reliable and it's very formal. The reason I recommend this is that in order for your brain to properly grasp grammar patterns, you must simply consume as much grammar as possible. Nobody learns grammar by reading pages of rules. Instead, you must just let your brain notice it. You'll find that in a couple of weeks, after reading an article a day, you'll have a much better intuition for things like definite articles and prepositions. It will just come more naturally to you, but you have to do the consumption, you have to do the reading. It helps also to do listening, so if you listen to some scientific podcasts, some academic readings, that would help you. But these websites start with these first. There's something for everyone on there, so get reading. But at the moment, I can see that you are performing at around a 6.5, but if you follow our tips closely, we will hopefully raise you to that 7 that you so desperately need. But it's nice to see your work coming through again, Tara. Have a great day, and I will see you again soon.